Yeah, so I'll start by talking about the company. The new Primal is a company on a mission to cut sugar or to access sugar from American diets. I do love a blizzard, so nothing against Dairy Queen. There's lots of blizzards at the office. They have an ice cream maker as well. But sugar's not everything today, right? Like it's like a lot of different sugars. And so our company was founded by Jason Burke, the founder about 10 years ago. Both of his parents were diagnosed with a chronic disease caused by diabetes. So he was actually in the banking industry and realized he needed to start eating better and made the beef jerky at home and dehydrator and started bringing it to the office where people started taking it from his desk and then paying him for it. And next thing you know, he had a thriving jerky business. So today we actually have two brands. We have what people call the Owl brand, which is mobile made. It has a very big owl face on the front of it. You've probably seen it maybe at Whole Foods or if you go to Sprouts in Minneapolis. And those are all feed ingredients, low sugar, sauces, condiments, and seasonings. And then we still, true to our origin story, we have a line of meat snacks under the new Primal brand. There's some kids versions in the back. Again, high protein, allergen friendly, low sugar snack. But yeah, and so I lead marketing through Primal. I joined about a year and a half ago after a career in a lot of different big corporations in Minneapolis, Target, General Mills, post-consumer brands. And wanted to go small and really focus on something mission driven. And so I lead everything from e-com to creative to brand management. Small company.
So this session is all about influencer in particular. So just to kind of set the stage, what portion of your marketing budget do you dedicate to influencer? And I guess that would include both the earned influencer where you're sending out product and then anything where you're actually compensating them as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it ebbs and flows a lot. Like probably all marketing budgets do in this room. But right now, I think it's about 10% of our marketing budget.
So you are a small brand, and you do have a small marketing budget that clearly has to stay super nimble. So how do you, because it's ebbing and flowing and everything's changing, like how are you kind of determining what that right mix is at any given time?
Yeah, and a lot of testing and learning, I think, for sure. But I think it all starts with your company, your size, your budget, and your objectives. I mean, the new Primal, we are not big enough to be on TV and do a lot of broad awareness strategy. And we know that influencers are really engaging, especially in the health and wellness space. So we started as a Whole30 company. We've got a Whole30 coaches we work with. We've got a great affiliate program. And a lot of people are looking to those influencers to know what they should have in their diet, right? And so for us, it's really important. I know the brands that are like, I'm just going to 80% of my budget is sampling. But for us, we know that influencers are a big part of it because they help people figure out what they should eat.
Right. So one of the things that people are always asking me about, and I find that I always have to kind of address, is where influencer fits in the sales funnel. This when I started doing this 15 years ago, it was all top of funnel. It was just about impressions. I think as D2C has grown and there's now this expectation of direct sales, the expectations of influencer kind of alongside that have slowly trickled down that funnel. And there's now, because we can measure it, I think there's this new expectation. And you're now seeing influencer kind of on every part of the funnel. So just curious where you guys see it, because you're not, you do have a retail presence and you don't have on this place.
When I am talking to my CFO, it is 100% bottom of funnel. But it is all parts of the funnel. And it depends on your objectives. I mean, we're a small company. We have limited distribution. We need velocities to sustain distribution and to expand to new customers. We just launched at Walmart this summer, right? So like I need my velocities up. And I know from my time at General Mills that top of funnel, massive reach works, but it takes time to work. And I don't think the board or investors like to hear that. And so for me, it's all about like, how do I use influencers and make it on the funnel? Like you said, I mean, there's great programs out there now. Mac, maybe some Pfizer, where you can either take attribution, or Pfizer's a startup where you can attach a retailer coupon digitally to an influencer activation. You can download it into a store and you can track redemptions. I know it's none of it's 100%, but at least I can show the board and my CFO that, hey, this influencer, I didn't just pay them $20,000 to do a really cool reel that I hope you all liked to watch, but it actually drove as many people to the Whole Foods to buy our product. And so I think that's what's great about it. I think it's a harder sell for smaller companies, unless most people measure it. It was definitely bigger or different at.
And I think one of the things that's interesting, I think even at top of funnel, the metrics that you get from influencer, I mean, I'm certainly biased, but they seem to me to be a lot more precise than what you get from traditional media. An impression or a video view on an influencer program or any social media program, someone actually did see that video. An impression on TV, like last night I had the TV on in the hotel room, I'm brushing my teeth, washing my face. Like that's not necessarily an impression. So, but I feel like oftentimes now that you've experienced this with your management, your CFO is a stickler. But like, is it helpful at all that even at top of funnel, it's a better method?
Yeah, I think so. And also, I mean, there are little things you can do, like when we're doing influencer activations that aren't tied to a coupon or going to B2C, like we'll go to our store locator, and the great thing is like store locator through Destiny, you probably know who they are. And I can track clicks to actually like who searched for our products and put their zip code in, etc. So I can get a rough estimation of how many people probably converted, which is yes, it's much easier unless you have money for a marketing mix model or something like that, which we definitely do not have. I'm missing marketing.
The store locator thing is I'm like going off script now, so feel free to kick me. But there was like this whole kind of debate going on yesterday on Twitter. I was watching as I was on the airplane about if it was actually ice cream brands, but like retail ice cream brands like Jenny's. And this guy was saying that he was frustrated that all of the landing pages were just a store locator, which clearly it was to get that measurement. But he was like, I'm clicking this to get more information. I don't know if I want your ice cream. Yeah, like why aren't you still trying to sell me? You're just asking for my zip code, and like you have this opportunity to give me more information. But it probably was a metric.
I'm sure 100%. Probably. And if it was any customer to us, we've got glass bottles of liquid. Like they don't want to drive people to the site because they don't really want to sell them. They're not saying we want people to go to retail and buy it. But yeah, I'm guessing that they want us to be able to attract people.
So you were talking about affiliate, and certainly with the whole 30, like that's a huge opportunity and something that's very, very important to you. And another thing that's kind of been going on in the influencer space in the last couple of years is just this desire to join together affiliate and influencer. Again, it kind of ties to that bottom of funnel. I don't really see that anyone's really kind of cracked the nut on how to make those two work together super well. It's interesting. So I was just wondering like how you decide where it's just a pure paying for your content and where it's compensating for some kind of actual sale, or if you're doing combinations where here's what we're going to pay you to create this content, and then here's this kicker that you get if you do sell.
Yeah, I think they live well together. I mean, the great thing as a marketer about affiliates is I always tell my team they're kind of free. I mean, you basically pay them on a commission on what they sell on your website. So I think of them as like the way that I get people. I just said we don't want to sell D2C, but we do on our fixed business. So I get people to buy on our D2C business through affiliates, and it's very low expense. And also that they know our brand really well. They're passionate about our brand. They don't have to train them. They're not going to go off script. They use the products again and again, right? So like I think of them as actually part of our team. So we'll even have them sometimes go into stores and say, okay, can you have some samples? Like it's more like a community. Influencers is what I use for our business. It's hard. I think there probably are some other affiliates who don't love to do things for brick and mortar because it's how they get paid, right? It's all that attribution. So I use influencers when I'm like, hey, we're launching this really great product at Whole Foods. I need to get people talking about that traffic to Whole Foods. So I think they live really nicely together. It just depends on your end objective and like where you want people to buy.
Yeah, and I think some of it comes from the influencers themselves, where if it's a very special influencer, you can drive that direct sale. And if you know that you might not be that person, but you do have great reach, it's kind of risky for the influencer to be working on a commission only basis. Yeah. So what size and tier of influencer has worked best for you? I mean, we do a lot of work with nanos, and increasingly we have brands wanting to kind of, I think sometimes they fall in love with kind of a more mega celebrity influencer personally and then want to work with them as a way to meet them. So just wondering, like, from nano to micro, macro, mega, like, where are you seeing your sweet spot?
Yeah, again, for us with smaller budgets, I'd say definitely more like the nano and micro. I think for a few reasons. I mean, one, I came into the job from journals and I was like, we need to go after these people. They're known in health and wellness space, Peloton instructors, all these people. And then you're like, oh, that's how much it costs for one reel? And I'm literally going to hit your audience one time? That's like half my budget. So what I found is a lot of the nano, micro influencers, you can get, first of all, a lot of them into a lot of different audiences and get a lot of content that we can use as a brand. But also we developed more of a relationship with them. It's not as transactional. We actually have one that I would consider actually a fairly large influencer, but in the grand scheme of things, smaller. And she still uses our product, I'd say once a month and posts about it. We pay her one time, right? So I think those people are a little bit more flexible on how you work with them, and they might continue to use your products. And if we send her a nice little gift box once in a while, and she shares it. So.
We also see that, I don't know if you've seen this too, but if you start working with someone when they're a nano and then they grow, which on TikTok happens way faster than it ever did on Instagram, that loyalty remains. So, I mean, it's not like we can still get them for $400 a post, but you might be able to get them for less than what they're charging everyone else out there.
Yeah, for sure. We're part of a portfolio under investment from a bunch of other brands, and one in particular did that, and now they have their macro influencer that should invest with the company, right? So I think you can build that. It's probably not always easy to do, but if it happens, it's great.
So when you are kind of making those decisions and trying to figure out who you want to work with, what are you looking for in a creator? Like, how do you know that someone's the very right influencer for your brand?
Yeah, I mean, for us, value alignment is really important because we want them to believe in what they're pitching, and again, like, you be looking to use their products, right? So I don't want somebody who is going to pitch low sugar products and then the next day go and like this about that, right? And so I think value alignment is super important. For sure, I tell a story, and I won't say the brand name. They're a great brand, but they also reached out to Cody Rigsby, and I did a great reel with Cody Rigsby for whatever it cost. And literally, we called him right 2 weeks later, and he was talking about how much he loves the competitive affairs. Maybe not something he was supposed to do to begin with, but again, it's like, how do you want people to authentically believe in your brand and your brand values? Because otherwise, it's not going to come across as authentic to your audience, and they literally might talk about their competitor next week, or someone who's not a low sugar party size.
I'm interested in the whole question of exclusivity because that kind of comes up with the Cody Rigsby thing. It also goes back to working with someone you want to meet, I think. But there's a lot influencers have gotten super, super savvy about exclusivity, and they're charging a lot more for it. And in the case of the new Primal, it makes a ton of sense. You don't want someone talking about your product and then talking about something that is like a direct competitor, but even like just not aligned with your values, and like is going to kind of point out that it wasn't authentic that they were posting about you. But it does cost money when you're requiring someone to be exclusive for a certain length of time, or like it just kind of makes the cost go up and up and up. So like, do you feel like there needs to be some more flexibility there? Have you seen yourself becoming more flexible as that exclusivity has become more expensive?
Yeah, and I don't even know that we need them to be exclusive of competitors as long as the competitors are in the same space. I mean, like Chomps is a big competitor of ours. We do share some influencers, and I find because then, in general, they're both zero sugar meat stick products, and they believe in our values. So I guess it's not necessarily a concern that they're going to reach out and work with a competitor. It's more like, are they going to, talk about some gym? No offense in some gyms, like the next week, right? Because it's like, well, you just sat here and told me all about this is so great, and it's all you need, it's sustainably sourced, and how important it is, and then you like literally went to the convenience store and bought the opposite. And I think the bigger brands probably have some ability and desire and money to do that. We don't. So we can't be super picky, but at least we can do a lot of social listening and understanding to make sure that we're picking the right people to begin with.
So social, great segue to social listening. How important is that for you, just kind of in your influencer marketing kind of ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, really important for those same reasons. We want to make sure that people who we're working with believe in values, the product, and so all of us, I'm probably on Instagram and TikTok at least of our team, but we've got like a social channel going, and we're constantly, hey, you see this person, they're talking about this, and we're sharing back and forth with people we think might be a good fit. And then obviously, once you get to like a bigger compensation you're working with, and you might be celebrity or macro influencers, very important because you want to make sure they're not in the press or something the next week that's going to tarnish your brand. I don't think both people we were probably have concerns they're not going to show up on a big news outlet the next week for something they did, but still, it also gets a really good fit. And we'll use my product after we're done.
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like your team is very hands-on and doing a ton of this. So what portion of this are you handling yourself versus outsourcing to an agency, and how do you kind of figure out what that is?
Yeah, we are to help build the strategy. I don't recommend, unless you have a parallel team, doing this internally. We did that my first 6 months on the job, and we had a full-time person in a platform called Bryn, literally like negotiating contracts, finding the influencers. I mean, and then it would take 2 months and they find 2, right? And so it's very time consuming. So we do have an agency, or I call it a collective, that we can at least like feed people them like, hey, this person's interesting, but they do all the vetting and the negotiations. The only part that we do internally, and I actually do it because I think it's kind of fun, there's some platforms out there now, one we use is called the Lobby, which are more inbound requests. So it's almost like putting your brand resume out there, telling them about your products, what your core products are, your goals, what kind of content you want. And then they literally reach out to you, and it's anything from they just want a free product, usually smaller influencers, or like a pay for performance, but even those are not that expensive. And so I probably get 40 requests a day. It like pulls their stats in for you to look at their account and see if it's a good fit, and you can accept and connect to Shopify and put a discount on the product. And so that I do. I find it very fun. We love an UGC from it, but 100% like all the other stuff where you're actually paying money, use UGC. I'm not just saying
Thank you. I think we have some time for some questions.
This may be a question for Danielle, because we have a lot of brands that traditional paid social, but they're boosting influencer content, which shockingly we're seeing some of the better brands is performing better than just the paid social content. It's like one step removed. There's something very authentic about the influencer. You find that aligns with the brand, and they're boosting that. Are you seeing that more often over the last year and a half, 2 years? It's hard to navigate it.
Yeah, I mean, I can just kind of speak to what we've seen globally. I mean, probably since 2016 or so, paid social has been a must for all of our programs. We always want to use Zuckerberg for everything, but they changed the algorithm, so anything that has hashtag ad is going to be throttled unless you put some paid behind it. And yeah, we always boost through the influencers account. The software that we use allows them to authenticate us, so we can go in and do that. And you're right, it is one step removed from the brand, and I think there's a higher level of trust there. It's also nice because you're presumably working with a specific influencer because their audience is a great fit for you. And so you have the ability to do all those great things that paid social gives you the ability to do, like find lookalike audiences. We do a lot of geo-targeted programs now, like store openings, or we might want people within 20 miles of a new location that's opening up. You can do so much. I mean, you can't, if you're just doing influencer work, there's not much geo-targeting that you can do, but with that paid social, you can make sure that only people in a certain zip code or of a certain gender or age see that content.
Yeah, I would agree. And then also, I think just to add fatigue, like people are just kind of fixing brands sell them things. And so, yeah, we've seen better success, especially as we go TikTok is a growing channel, right? Like, I think I'm on a community of CMOs in the natural organic space, and we've all shared, like, on TikTok, there's not even a point really in doing branded content because you need to be doing it so much every day to actually get traction, whereas people on there just want to let other people talk about stuff. They don't want to brand stuff.
It's also, I think another interesting thing is if you are working, if your product is a regulated product, there are certain product categories that you can't do branded content at all, especially on TikTok, that you can be paid. So we often will hire the influencers to create that content, and then we will only run it as paid, not run it organically at all, to be able to comply with those terms. And like OTC is the font.
What social listening tools are you using?
I'll have to recommend some because honestly, it's just being on all of the channels a lot as a team and sharing. I know Mills and most have like very specific tools that we would use. But yeah, it's just us.
We're seeing that with our client. We have one client in particular that gets mentioned all the time, and I really think they're just looking at their mentions. I don't believe it's any kind of fancy tool.
Yeah, definitely. My mighty team of 3. So I have a graphic designer on my team internally, and we also work with a company that specializes in like natural organic industry and content. That's new as a week ago. I have a brand director who is actually an influencer himself, so that's been helpful. I think as we talk about influencer strategy, and then I have a marketing associate, and that's it. I mean, when I started, it was much larger. We had the marketing team, all of these things, and I really had to get back down to basics. Hopefully, we'll expand much more beyond that in the near future here, but yeah, it's small and mighty.
Krista, this is Julia. More so comments. Leads into those moments of joy, right? Families, the next generation. Just say space. And really great, by the way. It says, why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants? Why? Say that again. No, in case he gets a hold of one, also fun fact, it's the other day at school with my daughter. I just texted this teacher as my first. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. We actually did not have them on the Costco pack for a while, and my son gets so angry when he's 5.
So, full circle, way to Victoria.
Yes, for sure. They were all written by our co-founders and Google.
So, along those lines, it's been really great. It's trying to get that better process. Obviously, you start with the whole thing, that's a no-brainer for your brand. How are you shifting with the parent focus, right? The snack packs, is that shifting your strategy? I mean, I know it's not just influencer, but how are you moving into that?
Yeah, well, we just relaunched Noble made it a standalone brand from the new Primal. That was my first year project. And we pretty much put Whole30 on the back of everything. I mean, Whole30, unfortunately, is a declining trend, and really the number one trend in the health and wellness industry now is lower sugar. And so that is front and center on all our packaging right now. And that also makes it a lot easier to talk to parents and kids. Because in general, I mean, I don't know how many of you have kids. My 5-year-old boy on sugar is a nightmare. And so it helps us talk to all ages. I think everyone in general is looking to just cut sugar and maybe enjoy it in those moments of indulgence, but not have it hidden in every granola bar.
Just so Barrington doesn't get sad once they get their driver's license, which is the world I'm in, they just take themselves to Barrington. And don't care what input I provide.
My 5-year-old loves the Oreo blizzards. We go there. But again, indulgence, right there in the moment.
Another class